just for information, this is the virtual chapter, and the virtual chapter has a leadership team, and that consists of Ian as our president, and then assisting him, we've got Usha, Vilmeen, Vilbert, and myself, and we meet in between these sessions, and we decide on where we're going and the speakers and all that sort of stuff. So if you've got any questions about the virtual chapter or PSA, then you can chat to one of us. But we also fall under the other leadership of the PSA, and they have a national EXCO meeting, and we've got a representative here tonight with Charlotte Kemp, who is the Vice Deputy President this year, and she's going to chat to us a little bit about what's happening in the engine room of the EXCO at national level. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, lots happening at the engine room. First of all, I'd like to just offer the apologies of our association president, Joni Petty. She wanted to join us, but she has been training for 3 days straight for about 8 or 9 hours at a time, and she's exhausted. So she didn't want to yawn during Ian's session. Ian, she offers apologies, but she wishes us all well. It's been quite interesting. Joni's tried to get to as many meetings as possible, and she's meeting the whole association virtually while we're all online, which is fantastic. I want to make some special notices just to welcome as well to this meeting Maureen and let me check, Maureen and Tyron from the Pretoria chapters. It's lovely to have you here. And Ian Bratt, who's the immediate past president of the Johannesburg chapter. It's great to have you. And then I want to mention as well, I'm just checking, I've got everybody there. We want to make a very special welcome. Membership is very important in PSA. We have lots of value that we can offer to non-members. We've got a couple of public masterminds, which you're welcome to join, book writers, podcasting, the Women's Mastermind. We have the virtual chapter, and you're welcome to attend the virtual chapter at any time without paying. It's you're welcome to join this group. But people do come into membership, and there are other benefits once you're part of this actual community, and you're helping us to co-create all the amazing things that we're doing for the broader community. So we'd like to welcome the very latest, the very newest associate member of PSASA, and that is Faith Pamela. So welcome, Faith. It's really fantastic to have you part of this. Yes, there are some things happening. We're having some conversations about the convention because I know people want to know what's happening there. As soon as we know what is happening, we will let you all know. But we're making some interesting plans about that. We're also introducing 1 or 2 new masterminds, and one of the new masterminds is Wilbert and myself will be running that, and that is for our Botswana community. Whether you're members or not, you're welcome to join that mastermind if you're part of Botswana, because we really want to help to pull everybody together in that space, which is very exciting. And then some of you would have seen emails that have gone out recently asking if anybody would like to volunteer for the marketing team. And we've had initially like 2 responses, and then with the second round of invitations, like 40 responses. So now we have too many people for a marketing team, but we'll work that out. But it's very exciting that people want to be involved in raising the standard and raising the game of our brand for PSASA. So we've got a couple of plans. We'll be calling that meeting soon, early next week. And we'll get people on board, and then we will do some things. We're not promising what they are, but the whole point is that we are mature enough now to really step up to that next level. And that's very exciting. So this is my year as Deputy President. I'm really enjoying it. I love connecting with all of you. I love seeing the virtual chapter being so vibrant. We have members from 5 different countries as part of the virtual chapter, which is very exciting. And it also means that we can meet our friends near and far, and old and new. And on that note, I'm going to say, Michelle, it is so cool to see you here. Really enjoy it. The last time I think we were together on a meeting, it was you and Ian and myself and Tom from Singapore, and we did that big presentation about virtual training, coaching, and speaking at a convention a few years ago, which was very exciting. So well done. Welcome to you. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Right, news from the engine room, or was it the bridge? I'm not too sure where the Exco hide out, but I think it's in between the two. So thank you very much for all your hard work and leading and guiding us. So I want to take you back a little bit, okay, because there's some very interesting evolution indicators that we see in the world. And going back about 50 years, the world split into two different groups. It was the haves and the have-nots. And this came about the emergence of computers. And the people who had were able to migrate into this IT sector. And the IT sector gave birth to all sorts of demigods, superhuman beings, and creative people, like myself, of course, and a number of other people. We were then labeled as programmers or computer operators, and we then rose up through the ranks, exceeding all expectations of mankind, human being intellect, and we were able to get into the information age, where we superseded the average human being. And tonight we are joined by another, similar to me, but better and brighter, because I only got to work for IBM, where Ian worked for Microsoft. And Ian was instrumental in rolling out software that we all use today, like Office and all those applications that really changed the way workflow happened. So I want you to sit back, get a blank piece of paper in front of you, at least 2 pens in case one runs out. And I want you to enjoy the next handful of minutes as we be entertained and taken on a journey by one of those exceptional, fast-tracked evolution people from the information age. And that is Mr. Ian Hatton. Sir, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that introduction, Bruce. I knew I could rely on you spicing it up. I really appreciate it. That is excellent. So, yeah, as has been billed, this is Morpheus on purpose. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Morpheus. Now, this is not the name given to me by my parents some 57 years ago now. Yes, it was my birthday just over a week ago. And no, this was actually a name given to me by my friends. And we'd gathered together one evening. We had been talking about what is our mythical or mystical name? Who are we mythically or mystically? You know, is it a historic character, or maybe it's a TV program or a movie character or a book character, or maybe even a living legend? Who knows? Who are each one of us? And we went through all of our group, everybody together. We were 4 people. We were gathered, and the first one who went was my friend Luzon. And Luzon said, "No, she's River." And we kind of went, "River?" And she said, yes. Yeah, you know, River, from that incredible science fiction series called Serenity. And we all kind of went, oh, that River, because that River was an incredibly scary character. Very loyal if you've got her on your side, but deadly if you go against her. And so we thought, okay, fine, that's River, okay. The next to go was Rika, and Rika said, no idea. She's been looking at it, can't come up with any conclusion. And River said to her, but it's obvious to me you are the Lady Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. And she sort of said, but you know, Galadriel is tall and elegant and wise and courageous. And we all turned to her and said, but that's you. That describes you perfectly. Anyway, the next was my dear friend Jan, and Jan said, Well, you know, he's come up with two names, and the first name he's come up with is Samwise Gamgee, also from Lord of the Rings. Perhaps in some ways the real hero of the Lord of the Rings is Samwise, the one who really sees it through. And we all sort of said, yeah, we can see that in you, but it feels like there's more. And he said, well, he's a little bit reluctant to say it, but he actually suspects that he is Gandalf the Grey. And we all went, oh, yes. And in fact, recently I had a conversation with him, and I said, actually, I think you're becoming Gandalf the White. Any of you who know the Lord of the Rings stories will know what that means. So I was last to go, and I went, well, I also struggled. I didn't come up with anything. And River again turned to me and said, but it's obvious you are Morpheus. And my response was, oh, I wish I was Morpheus. I'd love to be Morpheus. And everybody turned to me and says, no, but you are Morpheus. So let's explore a little bit. Who is Morpheus? So firstly, Morpheus is the Greek god of dreams. And I'm sure you can see the resemblance immediately, right? So the Greek god of dreams, one who awakens dreams in others, the god of dreaming. Also, later, in Neil Gaiman's Sandman comics, Morpheus was the lead character, the Sandman. And again, the one who awakens the dreaming in others. And many people say that this Morpheus is the one that inspired the Morpheus of the Matrix, which is the Morpheus I relate to the strongest. Because the Morpheus of the Matrix is not the hero, but is the one who raises the hero. Morpheus of the Matrix is the one who equips the hero, who builds and trains the hero, and releases the hero. Morpheus is also the one who addresses the Great Hall of Zion, one of my all-time favorite scenes from the Matrix trilogy. And of course, Morpheus is also the one who, in the end, is basically the only one who still believes. Morpheus is the one who believes. And these are definitely characteristics of me, and they have greatly influenced me understanding my purpose and my role in this world. Now, wouldn't you just love it? Wouldn't you like it if you had clarity about who you were and why you were here? Wouldn't that just be amazing if you had certainty, clarity about who you are, why you're here, what your mission is? Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, unfortunately, most people don't get there. Most people are very frustrated about purpose. And we're going to explore this a whole lot this evening, but they don't quite get there. And many of you listening to some of the introductions during the networking session have ideas, but not full clarity of exactly what that mission is and what that purpose is. So this is really where so many people are stuck. And they're stuck because they've been taught formulaic things. For example, okay, so it's easy to discover purpose. All you need to do is think about what you would do if money was no object. To which a friend of mine who believes his call is to be an entrepreneur kind of went, but money is my object. And these sort of frustrations of so many things that we are taught about purpose and destiny and ways of discovering it might not be the be all and end all. And that's what I'm going to be talking about this evening. So what is purpose? So I'm going to buzz through a few slides, and then I've got an opinion poll to ask you what you think of what purpose is. So let's start off with this. Is purpose a destination? So why a destination? Well, it's kind of one of those things where we feel, well, when I discover it, my life will be sorted. If I know my purpose, everything else will fall in place. A little bit like winning the lotto. If I win the lotto, then everything falls in place. Of course, those of you who know and have seen the research, lottery winners are not necessarily happy people. And I think the same applies here. The next one, is it maybe just a fork in the road? You know, at some point I'm going to be presented with or confronted with a decision, and then that decision is going to be something that shapes or shifts the whole journey for me? Is it maybe just a fork in the road? But what if I miss the fork? What if I miss the turnoff? What am I going to do then? Well, that could lead to trouble, couldn't it? So maybe, therefore, purpose is a journey. It's a thing that unfolds as we progress. It's an unfolding set of discoveries. And each discovery leads to another discovery, leads to another discovery. And maybe that's what purpose is. Maybe it's that simple. What about if purpose for some of you might even be an abstract concept? A concept whereby you feel it feels so intangible. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel practical. It's like the Matrix. I can't make it all out. It's hidden. Maybe it's just an abstract concept. Maybe it's a frustration. Maybe you find yourself in a company of people who seem to know their purpose and you haven't found it. Or you thought you found it and then discovered that that didn't work. Maybe your purpose is right now for you a frustration. How about purpose being a discovery of self, a self-exploration, and it takes us on all sorts of paths in other directions like this labyrinth does to get to the centered place at some point, but all along the way discovering every right and left turn, discovering something about ourselves. Maybe purpose is an inner drive. It's the reason you get up in the morning. It's something that sits inside of you that connects you with other people or a particular topic or a particular cause. But it's an inner drive that you can't help. Maybe that is what purpose is. So what about you? It might not even be one of these. It might be something else. So we're going to do a poll. And so the poll we're going to do is, what is purpose to me? So I've launched the poll. And we have 28 people online, and it won't take Bruce and mine because we are host and co-host. So the rest of you, please complete the poll and please select multiple points. Don't just choose one. Go through all of these and select whichever are relevant to you and then press submit. And you can select multiples because I don't think it's only one of these things. Okay, so we have 3 people so far who've submitted, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep going, go through it and then submit when you've got there. Gonna give it about 15 more seconds. Select the ones that apply to you. Oh, and by the way, those of you who have chosen something else, 2 of you, why don't you just pop into chat and tell us what else you think it might be? I knew my list wasn't exhaustive, but I wanted to leave an opportunity for people to add other things. Okay, I'm going to close the poll off. We seem to have everybody's in, and I'm going to share the results. And so the biggest one that came up, 92% said it's an inner drive. My being empowers my doing. Followed by 84% a discovery of self. My purpose is within me. And then a whole bunch on the journey, my unfolding set of discoveries. So those are all, more than 50% of you chose those items. And then destination was chosen by a few. Fork in the road by a few, and something else. So let's see what the something else's were. Just going to go into the chat quickly. So finding where you add value to the world. Love it, Jonathan. Brilliant. And then Warren talks about a calling, a need that needs to be addressed. And I love that one, Warren. I appreciate the concept. One of my favorite quotes is that one that says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who are fully alive. And I love that. And I think it does tie in with what you're saying as well. I think that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Warren. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm just going to quickly take a pic of it so that I remember it if we need to. Okay, so let me stop sharing and take the poll away. And I am now going to continue. So the problem as I see it, and this ties in very, very closely with with what so many of you said is the problem as I see it. Just trying to get rid of the poll, it keeps popping up. Okay, the problem as I see it is that most of our lives, we are programmed by people, by society even, to be and do everything except be ourselves. And as so many of you have put, there is something very significant about ourselves and finding purpose inside of us, and yet society's been pushing against us so much of our lives to be something other than who we are. Secondly, we don't know, accept, or believe in the value of our unique essence. And perhaps it's just the flip side of the same coin, is that we haven't got to that place where we have fully accepted and even believe in, and even maybe get to love our unique essence, which includes our incredible strengths, our middling mediocrities, and our debilitating weaknesses, because all of that is what makes us up and makes us so human and unique. So I'd like you all to make a quick pinky promise. And you probably don't have somebody next to you to make the pinky promise, but what I'd like you to maybe do is even do it for yourself. And your pinky promise I'd like you to make is that you will take one concept that you get tonight, and you will take that concept and do something with it. Does everybody agree to make a pinky promise? And thanks, Tunji. I got your comment as well, and I'm going to deal with that too, by the way. Okay, getting lots of yeses coming through. Okay, people making a pinky promise. Yes, they will do something with at least one concept that we talk about this evening. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to start with something where, which is slightly controversial, but then again, I'm not known for dodging controversy. And that is that whichever way you look at it, what I'm going to be talking about this evening, it doesn't matter whether you are an evolutionist or a creationist. And I'm going to just look at it from both angles quickly. So I'm going to start with the evolutionist angle. And the evolutionist angle I'm going to take is neuroscience. So for many people, they kind of go, well, you know, I don't believe in this creation thing. And so, you know, I just want to follow science, and I'm going to be scientific in what I do. And purpose sounds like something that comes from somewhere else, so I don't believe in it. Well, here's what I think you can believe in. I think you can believe in the uniqueness of yourself. So all of us have approximately 85 billion neurons in our brains. And each neuron supports connections to about 15,000 other neurons. We call these synaptic connections. This means that the possible wiring of the brain is 85 billion times 85 billion times 85 billion, 15,000 times, 85 billion to the power of 15,000. This means that there is no chance there's anybody else on the planet who has the same brain wiring as you. And this is before we even get to all of the things that happen to us in terms of growing up, exposure to knowledge, to experience, to mindsets, to all sorts of things, woundings even. And all of these things make up the complexity of our brains. But here's the piece where it becomes extremely interesting. And that is that the research says that the places of your brain where you already have significant neural pathways, it's easier to add more neural pathways to those than to establish brand new pathways where no pathways exist. In other words, it's easier and way more effective to grow and invest knowledge and skill in an area of a strength than an area of a non-talent or a weakness. And so the neurological solution is discover who you really are, make that your purpose, and then bring that to the world. It's where you will grow the most, where you will grow the fastest, where you will have the deepest impact. It's that place where, you know, if you think of typical, we grow up in a schooling and type environment where the maximum is 100%. But what if you got somebody who in their geometry exam actually that 100% was only a small fraction of their capacity. They could have earned 1,000% if we'd asked that many questions. And that's what it's like when you operate in an area of strength. You come alive to the point where you suddenly have so much purpose based on that uniqueness of your wiring. Your fastest growth is always going to be in the area of a strength, and your worst progress, your least productive investment, is trying to fix a weakness, trying to, in other words, become somebody other than who you really are. Let me move on to the creationist view, which is a much simpler one to argue in a way if you are a creationist, because if you are a creationist, you probably believe you were created. And if you believe you were created, then you probably believe you were created uniquely for a reason. So that particular wiring of the brain and your fingerprints and your how tall you are and your build and all of those uniqueness, the color of the hair and the eyes and of everything, your retinas, which are unique, all of those things are probably for a reason. And so if your view is that of a creationist, it's quite simple. You will discover a lot about your purpose by looking at your design. And so again, same argument both ways. So let me tell you about my purpose journey. So I'm going to start with my life, my corporate life. Yes, I spent 19 years, as Bruce pointed out, in the IT industry. I did end up working for Microsoft. This picture, by the way, is of 25 years ago with the launch of Windows 95. And but one thing I do recall very clearly from my corporate years is that these corporate years were characterized by short courses I went on during my time. You know, a 2-day leadership course or a 2-day presentation skills or a 1-day discover your personality or whatever it was, communication skills. I mean, so many short courses that I did during my IT career. And very interesting that during this time, every time I went on one of these courses, I watched the facilitator and I went, I want that job. That's the job I want. Something was rising up in me saying, I want that job. Well, what happened was I started to think about this is, what if I could win the lottery? In other words, what if I could get a job like that? What if I could actually get a job where I could, for example, be training leaders and managers, earning dollars, not having to sell because it was actually given to me by an incredible global training company. And I was just delivering training all over the world, Africa, Middle East, and beyond, Singapore, Ireland, all over the place, delivering this training. For me, that would be the equivalent of winning the lottery. It would feel like now I'm living my purpose. Now I'm living my dream. Feel like I won the lotto. Well, what happened then is I left the corporate life. 18 years ago, packed up, left the corporate life, and took all the right steps. I completed a master's in organizational leadership. I did a training for trainers with the Ken Blanchard companies in California. And I started my own consultancy called See, Learn, Do. And effectively, after many, many setbacks, I began to live the dream. I began to live the dream. And you would think now, well, clearly, yes, I had won the lottery. And so in many ways, I did win the lottery. But here's what's really interesting. Now I have my dream job, doing everything I desired to do. So why am I not happy? So why am I not happy? And I kind of went, okay, what else is there? Where am I at? And so let me take you through a little bit more of the journey. It started with a beginning, as I've just mentioned, of getting a master's degree and doing a whole lot of things. But I very quickly realized that there were some problems with this beginning, because actually I thought I had all the answers. 19 years corporate experience, a master's degree in organizational leadership, many other courses. But what I began to realize is that actually there were lots of things that were not going so well in my life. Some of my relationships were not going well. In fact, my relationship that went the worst of all was my relationship with myself. True connection with self was missing. And that I realized, connection with self, connection with others was a deep, deep, deep concern. And I actually then left again, this time not leaving the corporate world, but leaving the daily rat race. And in leaving the daily rat race, we ended up with a different scenario, a scenario where I began every day by looking, Tunji, if you could just mute, please. You're getting a bit of noise from your microphone, if you don't mind. I began every day by, I was staying at the coast, and yes, I was doing some work in between, but I saw it as my primary mission to work on me. I needed more attention on myself and discovering who I really am, working through my issues and getting a real connection and a self-acceptance. And so I began to wake up every morning, and this was so contrary to the way I was raised. I woke up every morning with this thought, my number one job today is working on me. Yes, I've got other things to do as well, but the first one every day is working on me. The result of these investments in myself were that I started to discover things, discovered some mindfulness and later meditation. I discovered a whole lot of things about myself that I hadn't accepted, that I started to accept. And I ventured into the space, this inner world, not as a selfish thing, because what I discovered is the deeper and deeper I went, the stronger my connection with other people. In fact, I discovered that as I connected to the greatest depths, I was having a deeper and bigger impact on everybody that I came to influence. So as I did leadership training, I realized I was having a deeper impact simply because I journeyed deeper inside of me. Depth calls to depth. And so from that, I discovered and then created the Morpheus Genius product, and got into a whole lot of understanding about connecting with self. And so discovered the idea of living and influencing from your truest self, from the depths of who you really are. And so today I have a much better relationship with myself. It's not over. I'm still on a journey, and I'm going to be on this journey for the rest of my life. But I'm on this journey, and thank you, Jonathan. You're absolutely right. You cannot give what you do not have. And that's really what the journey was discovering what I really have inside of me. The depths of love and wisdom and genius that I can bring. And so that was what I now was bringing to the world. So I want to introduce you to my dear friend Mandala. Mandala was my first Neo, let me put it that way. I have a few Neos in my life. If you know the Matrix movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. But he was my first sort of true disciple of me being Morpheus and bringing Morpheus to the world. And Mandala came and saw me back in 2003. And he was about 20 years old at the time. He had fathered a child and was not being given access to the child for various cultural reasons. He hadn't married the mother, and there was a whole lot of stuff, and he didn't know what to do. And he came to me with this particular question. He had multiple questions. And I recently asked him, is what you asked what you needed? And he said, no, he didn't even know what he needed. But he asked me this question, is what could he do to gain access to his child that was being denied from him? And that his rights were being violated. And I said to him, Mandala, I hear you on your rights being violated, but what about your responsibility? What have you contributed to this child's life so far? And he said, well, he's got nothing. He was a penniless student. And he genuinely was, by the way. And I said to him, well, Mandala, until you pick up your responsibility, I'm not convinced that you actually have rights in this case. And it wasn't long, and Mandala had bought a blanket and sent it to this child as it was now beginning to enter into winter. And I just thought that was a fabulous example. Now, the Mandala case study is long, and I'm running out of time already, but I do want to offer to you the Mandala case study. And if you put your email address into the chat, then I will send you the case study on Mandala, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him in the case study. And also, I will send you an invitation to my next webinar that is going to be on the 1st of July. So if you are interested in that, I will get you signed up. Some of you might want to sign up by following the QR code. If you want to pick up your phone and follow the QR code, if you've got it handy, you can do that as well, and you can sign up there. Or alternatively, you can simply pop your email address into the chat, and Usha will give it to me afterwards, and I will then be able to send you the case study. So if that's of interest to you. Let me tell you a little bit more about Mandala. Mandala today has his own company, Africanology Solutions. It's a technology company. He has, I think, about 30 or 40 consultants in the field, senior consultants in the field. He's now also been doing some speaking, and he is busy completing his doctoral studies in leadership. So he's busy finishing that off. So very, very interesting guy, and I'd love to tell you more about it in the case study if you want to know. So what about my essence? And I want to get onto this as trying to bring things together a little bit. And that is that recently I have discovered a whole new depth to this. And it's one of the reasons that I told you the story of Mandala. Is about 2 months ago, I was struggling to market a certain thing about me as a speaker again. And I was really struggling with my messages and trying to put it all together. And one of the things that I had the insight to do, inspiration to do, let me rather use that phrase, was to interview people I've had a deep impact on. And I ended up doing 9 interviews of people who I'd journeyed with for more than 10 years. And one of them was Mandala. And so I had a deep chat with Mandala, and I was asking him a bunch of questions to get to understand my impact on him so that I knew what I needed to market. I needed to market whatever that impact was. And what's really fascinating is in my discussions with these 9 people who've known me, some cases for 25 years, the following 3 themes kept emerging. Firstly, I'm a person who connects. Everybody spoke about that my heart is a heart to connect. Secondly, that I stimulate. I provide an alternate perspective. I provide people with a new perspective on themselves. I provide people with a new perspective on life or their scenario or their situation. And thirdly, that I challenge. And I was told by all of these people that I can be very, very challenging. And so this is just a little bit of what came out about my essence. And so what I've now done is I've positioned myself around these things, that this is what I bring. And I'll give you an example. I've got a group I'm doing at the moment, which are doing a product of mine called the Morpheus Genius Disruptive. And we had a meeting last night. And this is what I did in the meeting. I stimulated connection, and it starts with connecting with self, connecting with others, connecting people with each other, all of that, plus then stimulating with new thoughts and ideas and alternate perspectives. And I did it repeatedly in the discussions last night, and challenging people to explore new things and to take things further. And so this really is my essence, is I'm a connector, a stimulator, and a challenger. So where are you on your essence journey? If essence is the core of purpose, where are you on your essence journey? So I'm going to take you through a couple of options and then do a poll. So firstly, essence, I don't know what you're on about. What is this essence thing? Maybe you're there. Or maybe the only essence I know is vanilla essence from baking. Okay, maybe that's where you are. Or maybe you have gone a bit further and discovered some of your wiring or your personality type, just as our Deputy President Wilmien mentioned in her story, using something like a Gallup Strengths Finder or something like that, finding out a little bit more about my unique wiring. Maybe that's where you are in in your essence journey of purpose. Maybe you understand even beyond your wiring at a greater depth your personal uniqueness, something about your heart, something about your passion, something beyond just understanding your wiring. Maybe you're in tune with your emotions, your senses, your intuition, because that's part of connecting with self, getting to that point where you are deeply in tune with everything of that you are. Maybe you are actually self-integrating, where you are integrating your mind and your body and your heart and your spirit. You're really bringing it all together. And maybe that's where you are in your essence journey. Maybe your essence is connected to people, connected to the planet, connected to providence or the universe, or for some of you, connected with God. Is it this absolute integration, this integration between yourself and others, and taking care of the planet, and connected beyond spiritually as well? So let's do a second poll. So let's now go to poll number 2. I'm going to launch it. And once again, you can select multiple options, because for many of you, it will be multiple things, not just one of them. So let's have a look. Again, select multiple, and you can then hit submit. Okay, we got 3 votes, 8 votes, 10 votes, 13, 14, 17, a little bit more, 19 now. So when you've finished, just remember to hit submit when you've selected all of the items you want to select. Nobody's selecting my vanilla essence joke. I mean, really, you know. Okay, so 24 submitted. I think I'm going to close it off there. We've gone over a minute already. Okay, so let me end the poll. And let me just clear all the annotations as well. Okay, let's share the results. So the one that's come up the strongest is an understanding of personal uniqueness, followed by in tune with emotions, senses, and intuition. And then we have the discovered my wiring one, and then integration with body and mind, and then integration with people, planet, and providence. Okay. All right, let me share the results with you. Here, the results are now out, so you should be able to see that. Let me just clear the annotations as well. Okay, so those are the results. Everybody's seen the results. I'm going to stop the sharing of the poll now and close the poll down. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so let's wrap this up a little bit with a couple of things, and then we're going to have some Q&A. So the idea that I'm putting out there for you is an invitation to go on the journey of the discovery of your essence. It's a discovery that is a step, I believe, deeper than discovering your wiring. It's a discovery that is a step deeper than just being in tune with yourself, your body. It's all of these things together. And so that is what the journey that I'm inviting you onto, is that journey of just taking that that step of going into the deepest part of who you are, going on that journey. And that is the invitation of the red pill. And for those of you who made the pinky promise earlier on, it's which of the items are you choosing? Which of the things you've heard tonight are you going to take away? For some of you, you're not ready, and it's okay. Take the decision to say, well, I'm not ready to go on that inner journey. I'm going to stay where I am right now And that's okay. Taking the blue pill is better than no decision at all. And so if you're not ready, just be honest with yourself and say, I'm not yet ready. And I promise you that is a step in the right direction. You'll be astounded to see what comes out if you simply admit that you're not ready. And that could be your option. So here is what I'm suggesting about purpose. I am suggesting that purpose is a conscious journey. It starts with self. And what it's going to give you, it's going to awaken and build and release your unique talent on the world. It's going to enable engagement with your audiences and with your clients. It's going to create a sustainable speaking business as you speak from your truest self and as you bring your truest self to your clients. So I'm going to end with this quote, and many of you have heard me do this quote over and over again, but I still love it and I still do it. It's a quote from Neil Gaiman. And Neil Gaiman said the following. He said, the one thing that you have that nobody else has is you. Your mind, your voice, your vision, your story. It's unique to you. And he then concludes with this, and he says, so write and draw and build and play and dance and live as only you can. It's your choice. Okay, so any questions? Let me get some of the pictures open so that I can see faces. You're going to raise your hand if you have a question. Feel free to do so, and we will take it from there. Not seeing any raised hands, not seeing anybody with a desperate question. Bruce.
Ian, I've got a question for you. The sense of purpose in our life, how often does it change? Are there kind of seasons that we go through? Is the sense of essence and purpose that I had when I was 18 similar or completely different at 25, 30, 40, 50? How does that affect? Is this a highway with many lanes or a interconnected highway like your slide?
So it's such an interesting question, Bruce, and I cannot answer that question universally for everybody. I can tell you my story. And in my story, it was like, as I progressed and took my steps, I thought, okay, this is my purpose, and I stood in it, and I lived it, and I went on that journey. What happened was a deeper and deeper unfolding. And so for me, it wasn't a case of, well, I now ended up with something completely different. Even in my 19 years in the IT industry, I always had a sense that my purpose was others and raising up others. It happened throughout that period. But there was so much refinement that had to take place. And then it carries on. I mean, you know the story because you were part of it, and that is this year. I have had incredible deepening of that journey of me bringing my deepest essence, which I don't think I would have had the confidence to do earlier, or the insight to do earlier, or the self-acceptance to do earlier. So there was so much that still had to unfold before I could get to that place. And so for me, it's a journey of unpeeling or unlayering or deepening or whatever. Or maybe it's even that the highway just became clearer and clearer, and I could travel on it with more and more ease and speed. Very good. Any other questions? Yes, Chris. And then Faith.
Yes, thanks a lot. Quite an eye-opening session. I just want to know from your own experience relating to your journey, was purpose the thing that gave you the identity, or was it the identity that gave you your purpose?
What a lovely question. I love it, Chris. And Chris, I actually think it's cyclical. I'm not a one who believes that our lives are linear. Neither do I believe that we just go around in circles, but there's something about a cycle that moves forward. And for me, there were times that my purpose spurred me on to discover my identity, and there were times that my identity spoke to my purpose. And so for me, it's not either or. It's they built on each other in a cycle that moved me forward. And as I discovered more of who I am, I discovered more purpose. And as I discovered more purpose, I ended up discovering more of who I am. And so to me, the one fed the other ongoing all the way through. Faith, let's hear from you.
Okay, yes, Ian. On my side, I just wanted to find out, you spoke about discovering your essence. How do you go about discovering your essence? And also you spoke about the integrated, are you self-integrating your mind, your body, and your spirit? What did you mean about that? Thanks.
So Faith, I'm going to give you the slightly commercial answer first, and that is that if you want to discover your essence, you come and join my Morpheus Genius Disruptive product, and I'll take you down that path. But I want to give you something tangible now already without you spending any money. So let me let me answer your question properly as well. But yes, that is what I do. I do take people on a journey to access their essence. That's very much what I do these days, in addition to the leadership training that I do as well. So so on that basis, let me just say that there isn't only one way to do it, but it is an inner journey. So it does require some mindfulness, some self-awareness, some time with yourself, some time connecting with people who accept you as you are and who aren't trying to change you, and empowering others in the same way. The essence journey is really, you can start it, for example, with doing things like doing like a strengths finder, like Vilmeen suggested. Brilliant idea. And you can start exploring some of your wiring and that kind of thing. But for me, it was never quite enough to just know my wiring, even though I refer back to that all the time and I still use that tool. So I'm nothing against the tool, but to me, it took a combination of that tool and then sitting with myself, sitting with my community, getting people to reflect back what they saw when they looked at me. I'll give you a simple idea, Faith. One of the things I did was just before my 50th birthday, I actually created for myself, in fact, it was around my 49th birthday, I created my own initiation ceremony. So, often we have, the young boys going to the mountain and coming back as men. I never had that. As a white person, I never had any exposure to that at all. And at the age of 49, I decided I needed an initiation. And it wasn't from my parents or from elders, it was my peers at this stage, because I'm old enough that my peers can impart. And I asked them all, how do you see me? Not how would you like to change me or what should I do, but just reflect to me how you see me. And we got together over multiple people, multiple events, over a braai, over whatever, and they reflected back what they saw. And I led my own initiation event as such. And I think the result was that I got to understand myself a whole lot better, and I took some significant steps those particular events to also take that a whole lot further in terms of getting more clarity on myself and what I really bring. And effectively, that's what I've redone recently with interviewing these people that I've had the biggest impact on, Mandala and Lesedi and Sonia and a whole bunch of people. And they all seem to reflect as well what I brought and what my impact was. And that was an understanding of my essence, which is completely tied to my purpose. Okay, we have somebody who's raised a hand, the lady with the blondish hair, but I don't know what your name is. Oh, Marie, okay.
Yes. Hi, thank you very much, Jan. Very, very, very good presentation and very insightful. I was just wondering, based on the state of the world today, I was just wondering, do you think we have an essence or a purpose crisis?
Wow, that's a very, very interesting question. I hope I answer it well, and feel free if you want to contact me to have a further discussion. I'd love to do that. But let me try and answer it. I think that just going on this inner journey and learning to connect with myself in all my facets of who I am, and learning to connect with the world I live in, means I need to be aware of what's going on as well. And so as much as I talk about the essence journey, the pinnacle of that journey is bringing that essence to the world, which means if we look right now and you look at some of the crises in the world, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's I can't breathe, there are incredible needs out there. And I believe it's our job to bring our essence to those needs. And so to me, the integration of essence is ultimately expressed in our lives to the world. And I think we're seeing the interest in essence in ways that I've never seen before. In fact, I mean, I started talking about essence about 10 years ago, but the number of people who are talking about it now suddenly is so much stronger. And so I believe that each one of us is wired uniquely and has a unique thing to offer to the world that nobody else can bring, because we are unique. And that discovery and that integration of who we are is our gift that we bring to the world. And what could be more purposeful than that? What could be more purposeful than bringing our presence, the presence of bringing who we are to the world today? That will be the thing that will be able to impact. And yes, we have a troubled world. And that just, for me, raises the need for purpose that we can bring to that world. I hope that answers your question, but I do need to move on to Tunji so we can have maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap up.
We've got room. We've just got time for one more question.
Okay, Tunji, let's go for you.
Yes, I'm happy to be here today. This is my first time of joining from Nigeria, and I'm glad I'm here because I've learned a lot. My question is, you mentioned 3 essence of yours. You said you are a stimulator and you are a challenger. What is the third one? Yes, I want to remember that. And I mean, the second is, I know that for one to really fulfill his purpose on earth, talent is very important. You must discover yourself, I mean, your talent, what you've got inside of you. And also for people in the ministry, I mean, the ministers of God, that is a divine calling from God. And in doing that, you could fulfill your purpose through that. What are the other means, that you can tell me? What other means do I need to know, or you can tell me, that can make one to fulfill one's purpose? Thank you.
Excellent questions. Thank you, Tunji, and greetings to Nigeria. I was due to be in Nigeria in March when COVID-19 happened, and I wasn't going to be there anymore. I was going to be there for 2 weeks, so I missed out, unfortunately. But I love Nigeria, been there many times, and lovely having you along. So the piece that you were missing was connector. It's actually the number 1. So it was connector, stimulator, challenger. And the connector is connecting with self, connecting with others, connecting people with each other, connecting people with the right information. So it's all of those above. And in terms of what you're saying about ministry, I'm gonna give you a really interesting answer. If you know the scriptures, so I'm going to just do that quickly, and then you will know that there is a particular character by the name of Paul who very regularly says, Paul called to, Paul called to. And every time he says something different. And that's because I don't think we only have one call. I think we have multiple calls to different situations. And for me, the real thing that we're supposed to do is to be present with our essence in every situation. And that is purpose. And that is call. And so much rather than, oh, I'm going to discover something, and then when I discover it, then I will have a gift for the world. It's let me bring me as much as I can, who I know I am so far. Let me bring that to the world, because that's what the world needs. And that's what makes me come alive. I go back to that quote in the beginning of what the world needs is people who are fully alive. And being fully alive, it means bringing who you really are to every situation. And so that's really what it's about. Bruce, over to you.
Well, Ian, thank you very much. Big round of applause for Ian. Absolutely amazing. I love your updated slides. I don't know how much Cindy had a hand in that with that, but absolutely brilliant team effort. Great insight, and once again, taking us, moving us out of our comfort zone into a place of challenge. I think that's great. And I must just say, you have violated one of the international lockdown laws, because you have now offered us a chance to travel on a journey. And I think that is absolutely amazing. So the invitation there is to go on a journey and take that red pill and to be able to embark on a journey. I've done this journey with Ian and a few others, and it has been a real interesting adventure. I've traveled to Central Africa, up the Congo River. I've been in deserts. I've been in the wild oceans. I've been in icy conditions. And that journey was probably the hardest and the funnest one that I've been on for a long time. So I really encourage you to take a trip, violate your lockdown, unless you're in New Zealand, who have now released their lockdown, which is great. I was chatting to a couple of them this morning. I'm going like, wow. So that's quite interesting, is that some people have been released, but the rest of us are still locked down. But there's a journey that awaits us all. And I would really encourage you to sort of do that. So Ian, thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you for your inspiration and your wisdom that you've been able to share with us. And I know you speak from a deep place well within your heart that you have for us. And you care and love us all greatly. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that. So just a few things as we close, because we got a minute to get there. A couple of dates to diarize. The next virtual chapter meeting is on the July the 14th. That's again in a month's time, and we will reconvene here at 6:30 South Africa time. And I know some people are still getting the time a little bit wrong, coming from other countries, and so you've just got to work that out. I know with not time sharing, I don't know, time differences and all that, the times do change. And as we go into midwinter, we're going to be doing that. So come and join us from the comfort of your home on the virtual chapter, and being able to embark on that. We also have the Cape Town chapter, the Johannesburg chapter, the Pretoria chapter, and the Durban chapter as part of PSA, and all of them are online, and they are all available to us all globally. So if you want any more information around those, you can go to the website and book there. But don't forget, the best chapter of all is the virtual chapter. And just a little note about the mastermind. If you are an associate member of the PSA and you wanting to improve or learn how to do keynoting and speaking as a professional and get into that professional market, then there is a launch mastermind, and that deals with our entry-level associated members who are wanting to get that keynote to a point where someone will pay you for that. And we meet twice a month, and our next meeting is tomorrow evening. So if you want to be part of that, get hold of either myself or Charlotte urgently, and we will put you in touch with the correct things, and we'll see you online tomorrow, where we start dissecting the framework and psychology of a good keynote. And if you've already seen one tonight, it's a perfect visual aid, because we will unpack that one and dissect it and show you some of the inner workings around that. So It is now 8 o'clock, and I want to say thank you to Charlotte for joining us from the engine room or the bridge. Thank you very much for sharing. Ian, thank you very much for your presidency and your keynote tonight and the offer, and thanks to the other leadership of the virtual chapter and the people from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. Absolute privilege. Have an awesome day. Keep warm and keep safe, and above all, keep sane, because that's the hardest thing to do at the moment. So thank you very much. Enjoy your month, and we will see you back here next time. Thank you. Good night.